you'll see in the film come from areas of Pakistan where there's no television, there's no internet, there's no phones, and they are so disconnected from parts of the world as we know it. And a responsibility to try to tell that story and get out to many of you, and then have all of you pass it on. Is talked a little bit about the distribution system, and I'd be happy to talk about that further, but purely and simply, this film is a complete failure if each one of you who responds to it doesn't take some action at the end of the night, during the week. Social media is this credible opportunity, making clips available, excerpts, the full film. Again, we will talk about that all afterwards, but going back to the question about activism, the film, thanks to some amazing donors, many who you saw their names at the end, who gave $5 and $10, and people who gave a lot of money, the film is available for free online. So every single one of you, if you are so moved, can become a distributor. You can go get that link, and you can send it to 3 people or 5 people or 20 people, whatever it is. Or you can get short clips if people don't have the attention span. You know, we have everything from 15 seconds to an hour and all in between. Because film, as we were talking about earlier at the reception, you know, film can really impact and affect people. And putting a face on the policy, I think it can make a difference. There's a moral argument, there's a security argument. But in every single film we've done, we've always relied on, frankly, people like you and you. Social media makes it easier and makes it better. Study after study shows that people are much, much more responsive and receptive to receiving something from someone they know on social media than to some commercial on television. So it gives all of us this incredible power. The question is, are we going to use it, and how we're going to use it? But there's a great book by Mark Mazzetti from the New York Times, who's in the film, which is about how the CIA has turned from an intelligence gathering into a military operation, and how hard it's going to be to turn it back. Because, you know, it's a bureaucracy. Bureaucracies don't move quickly. And everybody in the CIA for the last 5 or 10 years gets ahead by being involved in the killing. They don't get ahead. You know, and they're human beings looking for promotions. They don't get ahead by collecting evidence. I don't know where they are. You know, I would hope that they have better sources than I do, frankly. But there's a real reality disconnect somehow when the CIA folks in D.C. can literally sit around, as the guy from the Washington Post says, Greg, and convince themselves they know enough to kill people based on cases. I mean, again, we're playing psychology here and it's guesswork, but it's hard to believe that you can get up and say, I'm going to kill more people when our rate is 2%. I think there's cultural differences. They're completely ignorant about practices. I mean, for a long time, they literally apparently didn't know that every able-bodied man in Waziristan above the age of 15 carried a gun. So there'd be 20 people in a circle with guns, and they'd say, oh, they've got to be bad guys. It's, as several of the people here said in the film, and we have to be clear about this, there's a bipartisan agreement on a policy level that the way we are safer is by killing, occupying, and invading. And it is bipartisan. So between the bipartisan, I mean, many people have argued that if Bush were doing this, people would be demonstrating in the streets, protesting, you know, but it's not. So I think the cultural problem with the media, film, television, and the bipartisan political problem makes our job more challenging. One of the most hopeful things coming out of a really bad situation has been, and you see it in the papers all the time now, the American people are tired of war. They've had enough between Iraq and Afghanistan. So I think there's a moment in time, hopefully more than a moment, where people are open to hearing other things. Certainly we're seeing a greater receptiveness to these and some of the other things we're raising around the war. But I think it's hard work. You know, it really comes down to, we're not going to have the money, but people to people, person to person, and everybody can do something. And, you know, many people have experienced loss or no, this is wrong, or no, this is not what they want for their country, and they're willing to do something. And in that sense, it's a kind of a pure belief in democracy. Well, I was saying before to a couple of folks that I think my belief, my goal, my hope with each of these films around the wars is to raise the fundamental question, which is, how are we safer? Because there are national security issues. Are we safer when we invade countries, when we occupy countries, when we use drones against countries? Because drones are just a tactic. We could stop drones tomorrow, and there still would be a bipartisan agreement and a cultural issue around, yeah, beat the hell out of these, whoever they are, and we'll be safer. That hasn't, I don't believe that hasn't proven the case in the last years and years of wars, and, the moral, the deaths, and the financial. With drones, I believe there is a use for them in non-military ways, and could be very useful ways, right? I mean, think of it. From everything silly a real estate broker showed me how helpful a drone was in a property he was trying to sell to. The example the industry uses is lost children or firefighting. So I think there's use there. On the military side, I believe both signature strikes and the use of drones should be stopped, because no judge, no jury, no trial, violation of international law, and just wait till other countries start doing it. We will be outraged. How dare they kill people who haven't any right? How dare they kill people who we don't know anything about? That's awful. But that will be soon. Other countries will do it soon.